Hello YouTube, it is Stuart Angus on the account. I'm back after a little bit of a break for, well, actually probably the most important thing that's going to happen over the next 3 years. Okay, I've got my green shirt on. It's time. Gloomspite Gitz getting a new book. Okay, we've all been waiting this for ages. I think it's really important that they get this right, and what right means is not too broken, not shit. You know, in a spot where I'm confident it's not going to get nerfed, and the army's going to actually have some longevity in a healthy way in the game, okay? An example of that right now would be something like Soulblight Gravelords. Good longevity, good design, maybe a little bit boring, but yeah, overall positive. I want them to be in that spot. Okay, so we're going to get into it, but I just want to set the context a little bit, okay? Now, we are doing this live on YouTube. Just shout out to everyone who's joined and continues to join as we go through this fantastic journey of looking at the Gloomspite Gitz battletome. Shout out to AOS Coach who's graciously let me use his wonderfully prepared slides here to describe the battletome. I'm not generally a fan of using like direct screenshots. I don't have them anyway, but I think this is more fair to Games Workshop for me to review the product in this way than you know, get the actual battletome, which they haven't given me. So if you want me to have the actual battletome to look at and review, then if you could please at Games Workshop and tell them to give me the battletome, please. I will graciously review your products for free. Okay, I have no issues doing that. But yeah, I'm not necessarily a fan of just looking at the screenshots, so that's why we're doing it this way. All right, so the context. Okay, so I've been away for a while. Been playing a bit of real life Warhammer. Okay, I just went to CanCon. I went 4-1 with Gitz. Okay, I've been playing Gitz all the time, probably every day, sometimes multiple games a day, since about, I would say, July last year. Okay, so I have been playing Gitz. I probably played maybe 200 games of Gitz in about 7 months. And I've won most of those, I would say, and I've gone through many iterations of what I think is good in Gitz. It's a very interesting army. I think where I ended up, which was running basically like your core of 30 Squig hoppers. It's always been the core of all my armies. And then running buffs around that, and then just running trading pieces to get you through the mid-game is sort of where I settled on, okay? So the reason that the 30 Squig hoppers are so strong is because of 4-up rally. So you got this massive unit, costs 540 points, your opponent kills it off. You with the pylon on death, you trade in doing so, and then you can bring the brat with the 4-up rally and do it again, okay? That's what makes Gitz strong. It's the ability to trade and bring back units and be ahead of your opponent because you have more stuff on the board after the trade has happened, okay? Gloomspite Gitz is not a park on objectives and do nothing army, okay? It is a trade and win through recovery mechanics kind of army. It's quite similar to Soulblight Gravelords, but Gitz does a lot more damage and has a lot less durability than armies like that, okay? So that's Gloomspite Gitz. Okay, now the army is considered bad. Okay, it's considered very bad. I don't think it is the worst army in the game, but I do think it's in the bottom 5. All right, even in my build, I would say that unless played absolutely perfectly, it does suck. Okay, once it's played perfectly, it's pretty good. It's still not in like the top 5 of armies. Like I would do better at tournaments if I was playing a better army, but still a great army. Okay, but I'm really excited to see what's going to change about it. So what do I want to change? I want my whole army to not be centered around a fucking terrain piece. Alright? Because the game I lost in CanCon, the guy just hounded the Loonshrine the whole game, and that's how he won the game. Alright? If you want to beat Gitz in the old book, you just hound the Loonshrine the whole game, and it's really hard for the Gitz person to play against, okay? As soon as I played someone without a monster, I felt super confident from turn 1 that I was going to win the game. And that happened in several of my games, okay? Because they can't do anything about my allegiance abilities. Alright? Okay, now why do we have to surround the Loonshrine? I think the number one ability, aside from the Bad Moon Aura, is actually just the Battle Shock. The Bad Moon Aura is like obviously necessary for the rally, but a lot of these bigger units of Squigs and stuff with like Bravery 4 need the Battle Shock to just survive, so that's a big deal. But you know, you can have, like, let's say 2 units of 30 Squig Hoppers, have one under the moon, have one that's out, and use Inspiring Presence on the other one. You can do stuff like that. So there is a degree of flexibility afforded by the moon. So I want to see that mechanic get more reliable. I also want to see shitty War Scrolls get better. I put a call out on Twitter for what are the shitty War Scrolls and Gitz. I asked, like, what's the shittiest War Scroll? What's the shittiest ability? What's the shittiest enhancement? I got some great submissions. For the record, here it is for me. All right? Okay. Worst War Scroll was by far the dank cold Troggoth. Okay? All right? Hands down. The worst ability for me was the command ability on the Scuttle Boss, which was reroll charges and reroll hits on the dog shit spear melee weapon of the spiders. And for the enhancements, I honestly hadn't really thought about it, but I mean, there are a bunch of just crappy ones in there. I really disliked the basically the Jaws of Mork enhancements. So like the artifact, which is +1 to hit for the rider's weapon in combat phase against a hero. And all the riders you could put it on are awful. You could put it on a Troggoth Hag, and that was kind of okay, but still terrible. That one for me was the worst one. So that was my top 3. Thanks for everyone who contributed on Twitter. It was a fun conversation to have. But without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so we're starting off with the moon, all right? It's going to give us all our buffs. We're going to find out what they are in a second. But the big change here, right, is that it's become, in a sense, more predictable, and in a way not. So the big change is that it actually starts on the board now. The way it used to work is it would start off the board, and then if you rolled a 1 on battle round 2, it would stay off the board. And if you rolled a 1 on battle round 3, it would stay off the board. And if you rolled a 1 on battle round 4, it would stay off the board. And that situation happened to me 3 times. 3 times. In 200 games, it happened to me 3 times. And I've never forgotten them. It didn't lose me in the game. I won all of those games. But you would never forget that. I never rolled 4 ones in a row. Which, if anyone has ever done that, please reach out to me on Twitter. We need to organize some kind of award for you, alright? Because that's just tremendous. Yeah. Okay, but yeah. So we start in a large quarter this time, okay? So you nominate one quarter that it's going to start in. And then it moves towards the other side of the battlefield. Alright, and the way that it moves is that on a 1 to 3, it doesn't move, and on a 4+, it moves. Okay, now, the reason that that's, it's a little bit swingy, because obviously there's a chance that it just stays in the quarter that it's in. There's a chance that it moves into the middle and stays there, which is obviously fantastic. And there's obviously a chance that it just zooms off the board as fast as possible. But the chance that it goes from one quarter of the field to the other side of the battlefield is now absent. Okay? So what it used to happen is if you rolled a 6 and you, let's say on turn 1 you rolled a 2. Sorry, turn 2 you rolled a 2, so you moved on to the quarter, and then you rolled a 6 and skipped the middle and went to the other side. That was the truly awful situation in Gitz. Okay? If you did that, it could be game losing. Okay? The reason why it was game losing is, let's say you're trying to get the 4-up rally, okay? And what you do is you move into, like, let's say down here on the left, right? I'll just wave my mouse here. Down here on the left, where we start, we're starting now, but like that would be turn 2, right? And then you could move there, and you're going, okay, well, it's either going to stay here or it's going to go to the middle, right? There is a chance for it to bounce to the other side, but that's, that's 1 in 6, okay? So we're going to play, I'm going to sit here. Okay, and then it would bounce to the other side, and you wouldn't get 4-up rally. Okay, and if that happened, it would often be game losing, right? And there was just no way to play around it. You can't be in both quarters of the battlefield at the same time, so there was no way to make sure that you could absolutely get the moon's aura. Whereas now that's not a consideration. Okay, so if you're in this quarter, if you move into there, even if the moon moves into the middle, you're still going to be there. If your moon is in the middle, you know that if you move into the the top right corner, it's still going to be there. There's never going to be some skip where you randomly lose the game because of that. So massively improved. Chances it stays in the middle for multiple turns are massively improved. It used to be 1 in 6, now it's 50-50. Fantastic. It starts on the board. Massive improvement, okay? Absolutely massive improvement. Now, there's other ways in the book, as I understand, that you can broadcast this, and so it's likely you're going to be under the moon for a lot of the game. So let's find out what the buffs are. So, the buffs are... where are we? Just give us a sec. This is the perils of live broadcasting. Okay, here we go. So, 4-up rally for Moon Clan. That's unchanged. Squig units can run and charge. I think coach's sides here are unclear about when you measure this, but my understanding is you check in the charge phase if they're if they can charge, if they're under the moon, and then if they ran, they can still charge. You get +1 save for Trogs, and the spiders do mortals on 5s instead of 6s. That's unchanged. I suspect the reason it's unchanged is the current rules were actually brought forward, and so this is why this is unchanged. Okay. Then we have some other abilities now, okay? So we have some heroic actions. Obviously, in the new season, there's a chance to get 2 heroic actions if you go second. So this is great that we can do this. So first one, Moon Clan Hero. So it could be Squig, affected by Light of the Bad Moon, can carry out this heroic action. You can rally 3 times without any command points being spent. Yeah, I'm assuming that means the first one still costs, but the other 2 don't. I'm assuming that's what that means. And you must receive the command with a different friendly Moon Clan unit. Yeah. That's pretty fucking good, guys. Yeah, I mean, I was personally allying in a vulture for 220 points that did nothing other than do this twice. And he was kind of worth it. So you just get to do this for free now. And it doesn't cost you command points. And it's 3 times instead of twice. Yeah. I reckon that's pretty good. Fuck me dead. Alright, there's going to be a trend in this review. I tell you already. Where I'm just a little bit lost for words with how broken some of these abilities are, you know. Yeah, it's a little bit interesting. I would say that that ability is not even remotely balanced, and is an absolute massively negative play experience, or negative play experience. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, Trogs. Okay, so we got another one for the dank old Trog boss. Fuck yeah. Let's do it, lad. He's within 3 of an enemy unit. He can make a 6-inch move, but must finish that move within 3 of enemy units. At the end of that move, roll a dice for each enemy unit within 1. On a 2-up, they take D3 mortal wounds. I mean, it's fun. It's kind of cool. I mean, it's good. It's not triple rally, but it's good. It's got some play, for sure. He doesn't fly, so that's a problem. But his base is smaller than you would think it is, so... I mean, it's pretty good. Pretty good. Better than most heroic actions you're going to use, so... It's the other one. Okay, and we have some heroic actions. Okay, so we have the Arachnarok one. So, you pick an enemy hero within 3 that is not a monster and roll a dice. If that score equals or exceeds that hero's wounds characteristic, they can't fight in the following combat phase. Is that good? No. Moving on. If it's 1d6, which is what this applies, it's not good. All right. Giant boing, Bangle Squigs. You can pretend to be a Stonehorn. No, that's all right. It's a Stonehorn thing. You move 3d6, and you must finish that move within 3 of enemy units, but you don't do any mortal wounds. It's pretty good, I have to say, because Mangler Squigs need to be in the right spot. They need to be played very particularly to get the maximum value out of them, and making sure that you can get into what you want to get into, or make a charge to, and then just like move like exactly 3 away from the unit, so you got the minimum amount of models hitting you. That's even a good use of it. Stuff like that, right? You can tag stuff with this. I think really necessary that Manglers get something like this. Way better than the Arachnarok one. Way better. Okay, way better. That's going to be a trend. I can tell you already. I actually haven't looked at a lot of this, but I just know in my heart that spiders are not going to get it. Okay, let's look at some command traits and stuff. Alright, so a lot of this I think is kind of a repeat from what I saw before. So the Clammy Hand, if the general's within 12 of a Bad Moon Loonshrine, you can use its Moon Clan Lair scenario rule twice at the end of the turn. We'll get to Loonshrine in a sec, but that's the 4 bring back a unit thing, okay? Loon Touched, you can cast 1 additional spell in each of your hero phases while they're affected by the light of the Bad Moon. It's kind of okay. Not that amazing. Fight Another Day, it still does exactly what it does. It's amazing. The reason why it's so great now is obviously because with the Mangler monstrous action, you know, like you can move 5d6 in the combat phase, basically, right? That's insane. In addition to the normal movement, so really handy there. Super Nasty Venom. Spider Fang with a mount only. Double the number of mortal wounds that are inflicted by this general Spider Venom ability. Okay, now this only used to be able to be taken on a Scuttle Boss, okay, but now you can take it on an Arachnarok Spider because it's still a Grot hero, right? So, my understanding is that the Venom has gone from D3 to 3 mortal wounds, so you could be a situation where you're doing 6 mortal wounds on a 5 or a 6 with the mount, which is actually excellent, especially on like a wizard type of unit. So I can see the Spider Shaman General being good. I can actually really see that working. It obviously just depends on what battle line you're unlocking, okay? We have Squig Whisperer, +1 to hit and wound, made by the General's mount. That's great, obviously, on the Mangler. And then we have the Troggoths, +2 to wounds, and you're a monster. Love it. I think that's great. I love this one here. Once per battle, when this generals fight, after all attacks have been resolved, you can say they will perform a Trog Smash. Trog Smash. If you do roll a dice for each enemy unit within 3 on a 2-up, they do 3 mortal wounds. It's not very good, but who doesn't love a good Trog Smash? Loonskin, you can include 1 of the following spells in your armor without spending any points to do so. Mork's Mighty Mushroom, Scuttle Tide, and Malevolent Moon. In addition, in your hero phase, that general can attempt to cast that spell that summons the endless spell in the same way as a wizard. Ridiculous. Absolutely fucking ridiculously, stupidly broken command trait. Wow. Yeah, that one to me is, that's one of the most, like, overpowered command traits I've read in Warhammer in a long time. Like, it doesn't seem that OP because, you know, you're not getting, I guess, an additional capability in the sense that it's not something that you can't already purchase. But the fact that you can get, you know, in the case of Mork's Mighty Mushroom, it's 100 points. You can get a free endless spell without spending any points. Basically, it's just saying you get free 100 points with this command trait. Now, you might look at all these command traits here and really ask whether any of them have the same value as this command trait. And to me, the only one that would be close is the Clammy Hand. It's going to be really hard for the other ones to consistently perform to the same level as this one, where you just get free stuff, and he can be a wizard. Like, it's Arcane Tome, and then you take the endless spell and don't have to pay for it. Like, I'm a little bit befuddled sometimes about this kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, obviously that's completely fantastic, isn't it? You know, over the years we've seen many a broken command trait, but yeah, I think that one is definitely right up there. Now, whether or not you're going to take a Dank Old Troggoths General, I guess, is the question with that. So we'll find out later. He is awful at the moment, so he really has to have gotten better for me to see that you're going to take him. Okay, so, yeah, without further ado, let's get into artifacts. Okay, so we have Moonclan Hero only, Leering Gitz Shield, unmodified hit rolls of 1 for attacks that target the bearer called 1 mortal wound, and in addition, if the bearer is slain by an attack by my enemy unit, subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by that unit until the end of the battle. It's okay, you can do some fun stuff with this, like send your little like loon boss in, do a bunch of mortal wounds and -1 to hit, but I think in general you're going to go for more like routinely useful artifacts is what I would say. Backstabber's Blade, once per battle, not a good start. One enemy within 1, D6 mortal wounds, they can't be negated, whatever. Clamming Cow, -1 to hit, it's not that great in this edition. Squig Hero, with a mount, you get +1 rend, great. Go +1 hit and wound, +1 rend with the double gear, like the command trait in the artifact, nice. Moonface Marmot, -1 save. Now, it's wizard only, this one, so you can take it on Fungal Cave Shaman now, which is obviously massive because you didn't used to be able to do that. So it used to only be the crappy Mad Cup Shaman. So I think, unfortunately, if I can get some Fs in the chat, that is probably the end of our Mad Cup Shaman journey, okay? Because the only reason you would ever take him is because of this. So rest in peace. Mad Cup Shaman, we've had a wonderful time together. Unfortunately, you need to go to Fangod Cave Shaman School if we're going to spend any more time with each other. Rest in peace. Okay, Staff of Sneaky Stealing. You get +1 to cast. Each time you unbind a spell, you add an additional +1 to cast. That's actually, like, amazing. I think every other army in the game would absolutely love to have that for sure. I did just want to check one thing at this interval. In case I've missed it, I think the additional command point and the +1 to cast from the Bad Moon is gone. We'll get more information about that as time goes on, but that does seem to have gone. Okay, so the +1 to cast here is going to matter a lot if Hand of Gork is still what it is, so we'll find that out in a sec. Spider Fang Hero, Scuttle Boss only. I love it. You guys, Gensosha, you guys have my sense of humor. This is hilarious. Okay, only modified rolls of hit 5 or 6 successfully score a hit for attack that target the bearer. That is actually a great artifact. You know what? We might be bringing the Scuttle Boss in, boys. We'll see what his War Scroll does, but that's amazing. Fuck yeah, I love it. Nibbler's Itty Ring. Once per battle at the start of your hero phase, you can say the bearer will call upon the ring's power. If you do so, roll a dice and enter the results to the casting rolls made by that bearer into the end of that phase. That's great. Really useful. Yeah. Totem the Spider God. This is basically the Cruel Boy's Sludge Raker ability. So if you roll a 6, you add 1 to the number of mortal wounds caused by the Spider Venom ability. Obviously, that's great. And I like that it doesn't like double up on what the Bad Moon does, which is what it used to do. So now you do a 5 up. You do mortal wounds, but on a 6 you do an extra one. Okay, so pretty nice that one there. If you're running lots of Spiders, you're definitely going to run that. Yeah. Dankhold Trog Bosses. You have a 4-up ward. At the end of any phase, if the bearer was allocated any wounds in that phase that were not negated, roll a dice. On a 1, the bearer eats the glowy house and cannot be used for the end of the battle. I believe it used to be actually, you know what? We're going to look this up. I thought it used to be a 5-up ward, and if you rolled a 1, it would stop working. I didn't play too many Trogs, so just give me a sec. It might have been a 4-up ward, but it's like as soon as you rolled a 1, it stopped working. Yeah, so it was just a 4-up ward, but as soon as you rolled a 1, it stopped working. Now it's like you roll at the end of the phase, and on a 1, it stops working. So obviously that's way better. And a 4-up ward artifact is obviously ridiculous on a Dankhold Trog Boss. So that, I mean, he's got like the 2 best gear things I've ever seen. That's amazing. Speaky Skull Fetish. You roll 3 dice. On a 6, you get an extra command point. And you can issue the same command up to 2 times in the same phase. That's very good. Now, you do have to actually spend the command point, but I'm pretty sure the Dankhold will have a command ability, if that's the case. Add 1 to the bearer's wound characteristic. In addition, each time a wound is allocated to the bearer and not negated, roll a dice. On 1, the pet Gribbly is squished. Oh, no. When the pet Gribbly is squished, the bearer becomes enraged for the end of the battle. Until the end of the battle. Add 1 to hit rolls and wound rolls for attacks made by the area while they are enraged. That's fantastic. It's not bad either, actually. Rest in peace, pet Gribbly. It's alright. You shall be avenged, young one. That is hilarious. I love it. Spell Lore. It's your nuisance. 18 inch. You strike last. I love it. It's still what it is, and it's still awesome. Nick It it used to be on Squig's War Scroll, and this is the same. I think the casting value's gone up a little bit, but yeah, it does D3 mortal wounds, and if they had an artifact and you cast on a 10, it can't be used anymore. I think that's actually quite bad now. Yeah, that's not so good, that spell. Squig Lure gives a Squig unit reroll charges. Yeah. That's not good, but we will see later that Squig Herd need reroll charges because they don't have it on their War Scroll anymore and they can't use command abilities, so yeah, kind of needed. Teleport still has a 24-inch range, lads. We didn't get down to 12. I was 100% certain that was going to go to 12. Now, you still can't teleport out of combat, and it's still got all the same restrictions, but yeah, I was really expecting that to go to 12, so a bit of a win there. But overall, we've lost a few spells that were good. We've lost all of the damage spells, so Great Green Spike, Call of the Moon, and Vindictive Glare are all gone, so I think that makes magic builds a little bit more difficult in some ways. Okay. Then we have the Spider Fang ones. You can move a Spider Fang unit. Fuck yeah. Yeah. Alright, you know what? You know what, lads? You know what? I think we might be in for spiders. Yeah. You know what? I think we might actually be in now. I don't want to jinx it too early, but that's amazing. We're seeing some positive stuff now. Sneaky Distraction. -1 to hit while they're within range of the caster. Okay, so it used to be wholly within. So we've gone from -1 to hit against actually nothing to -1 to hit against a lot of stuff. Really positive. Curse of the Spider God does the same thing. It's kind of a limited use spell, to be honest, because you do mortal wounds. So them only, making a 2-up save unit now fail on a 1 or 2 is just not that big of a deal. When you do mortal wounds with the spider army, it's more of a big deal if you're playing like a Squig army and you're struggling with armor. I think it's quite handy, but kind of a limited spell. If there's a lore master, which I doubt there is, it's the only time you would use it. Okay, sub-factions. Now, sub-factions used to be terrible in this army, and the reason that they were terrible is that, unfortunately, we had this thing called artifacts that we had to take. And, artifacts that we had to take meant that, all of them were terrible. So you would often, I would say 95% of the time, never take a sub-faction in the old book. So we actually get to look at these abilities now because we know we don't have to take an artifact. Okay, so the King's Gitz. You get to reroll the Shrine. That's pretty good. I don't think it's, amazing. And the reason for that is obviously the Shrine can still get blown up. But it's solid, okay? It's a solid ability. Bad Snatchers. Each time a casting roll is made for a friendly Bad Snatchers Moon Clan Wizard, if that wizard is wholly within 9 of any other Bad Snatchers Moon Clan Wizard, you can reroll 1 of the dice in their casting roll. Fantastic. If it was just reroll a casting roll, I would be a little iffy about this, but, we know how dice works. Most of the time, I feel like you're going to roll, 1 bad dice. It's pretty rare that you roll 2 3s or something. So, yeah, this is really, really positive. Now, generally, these sorts of magic only sub factions don't get taken too often because magic at the end of the day does have a decently low impact in an army like this, where the spells are not actually buff spells. If they were buff spells, you would love this, but debuff spells are not as good, generally speaking, as buff spells. It's just a kind of a principle of any game. But yet, the debuff spells have to be disgustingly broken, like the Cathalar's debuff spell, for them to be, as important to justify taking this. With this, you would take it maybe if you're spamming endless spells. And we'll see what the endless spell war scrolls do in a second if that's justified. Yeah, but that's something to consider. Okay, so next, do we have the Squigs one? +1 attack when you charge with Squigs. It's just good. I love when they make sub factions like this. It's like who in their right mind would not take this if you were bringing Squigs? It's not interesting at all, but it's just good. I might make this a bit bigger because it's a bit small, isn't it? I'm going to zoom in a little bit or something. Maybe that helps a little bit. There we go. Okay, so +1 attack when you charge with Squigs. We want to charge with Squigs. Let's get +1 attack. It's like it's like the shooting sub factions. Here's +1 rend for the units that you want to shoot with. we want to charge with Squigs. Here's +1 attack. You can get a +1 attack. You can get rend. You know, we just want to make good sub factions here, alright? Glog's Mega Mob. Each time you fight with Trogs, after all of their attacks have been resolved, the effect of its regeneration or greater regeneration ability is triggered. We have to see if that's improved, because right now that's not good, but we'll have a look as we go through. Grimscuttle Tribe. Through the cracks they creep. During deployment, if any Grimscuttle Skitterstrand Arachnaroks have been set up in ambush... Why have we always got to go with these bloody Skitterstrands? I swear, every time with spiders, they just like, you know what, fuck the flinger. Who gives a fling and fuck about flingers, alright? They can go over there, alright? We're all just worried about the Skitterstrand Arachnarok, alright? It's a spider with no evidence of any Games Workshop IP on it, okay? we want you to take only Skitterstrand Arachnaroks, alright? If you can come to a table with a Spider Fang army that looks like it may be a Schlake collection, then, you know, that's how you know that you're playing Warhammer. That's what they're telling you here, alright? So your Skitterstrand Arachnarok, that is just a spider, is what they want you to take. So you take a Skitterstrand Arachnarok, and you can set stuff off the board with it. Like a Soul Scryer from IDK. And stuff can join it when it sets up. More than 9 from enemy units. Is it good? No. No, it's not. Moving on. Okay, yeah. Now, grand strategies and battle tactics. I know this is a little bit dry for some of you, but it's important, alright? A scheme for every occasion. If you did 4 battle tactics that are in the book, you're not taking that one. You complete this grand strategy if the model to pick to be in your general has not been slain, if they've been affected by Light of the Bad Moon at least 3 battle rounds. You're not taking that either. Protect a shrine if the shrine doesn't blow up. You get it. This is actually probably pretty good, because if the shrine is blowing up, you probably lose the game most of the time anyway. Superior Spell Flinger. If there are 2 or more friendly, Gloomspite gets endless spells in the battlefield. You get this. Could be pretty handy with Loonskin, right? The free endless spell. Get this in there as well, you know? Pretty nice. Alright, then battle tactics. Follow the moon. You can't do it in the first battle round. You complete this battle tactic at the end of the turn if every Gloomspite Gitz unit on the battlefield is affected by the Light of the Bad Moon, and you control more objectives than your opponent. I think will be pretty easy to do. Glory Grabbers. Pick one objective controlled by your opponent. You complete this tactic if at the end of the turn you control that objective, and a Gloomspite unit that was added to your army, not this turn, but just added to your army as a replacement unit, is contesting it. Okay. If you do 8 mortal wounds with the Spider Venom ability of Spider Fang units during this turn and not negated. I don't like the not negated bit. That sucks. Okay. Because that's kind of a little bit... It's like you're playing against Nurgle. It's just a little bit swingy. But also the fact that you have to do like 8. Like, you know, you're just going to call this battle tactic. You're going to go in. You're going to go, all right. So I got all these spiders here. I've got 10 spiders. That's 20 attacks, and you go, no 5s and 6s. Failed battle tactic. Didn't kill unit. Didn't take objective. 5-point swing. Bugger. Actually, it's a 4-point swing, but you get the point. Yeah, a little bit risky. Stab him in the dark. You pick one enemy unit on the battlefield. You complete this battle tactic if the unit was destroyed by an attack made by a friendly Gloomspite Gitz unit not affected by the Light of the Bad Moon. That one's also probably quite manageable to do. Moonlight Rage, you pick one objective controlled by your opponent, and you complete this battle tactic if you control that objective and every friendly unit is affected by the Light of the Bad Moon. That's kind of the same as Follow the Moon. Like, really similar. And the last one, which I know is cut off a little bit by the text, you guys probably can't see it on the video, but you pick one enemy monster and you kill it with Trogs, okay? So, yeah. I think there's, like, a bunch there that are really doable. I think 3 are, like, kind of a slam dunk. Like, all of the Like follow the moon, stab him in dark, moonlight raid are really easy to do. Just like objective oriented, one like two are objective oriented, and then one's like you just kill a unit. So yeah, I think really easy to do. Handy, really handy for Gloomspite Gitz, for sure. Okay, Winter War Scrolls. First of all, the Loonshrine. I think the big change here, from what I remember, because this was leaked during the week, is that it's no longer defensible. Okay, so you can't stick your whole garage in the Loonshrine anymore. Scragrot has reserved it for his evening dining with his secret dank cold wife that he pretends he doesn't have. And so, unfortunately, it has a big reserve sign over the front. I might actually like model a little reserve sign, because it used to be that, like, you know, I used to make a joke that that when I had Scragrot in my army, no one was allowed to enter the Loonshrine because he'd just done like he'd just used the toilet and done a bit of a stinky one. Gloomspite Gitz brings out some seriously immature humor for me. Yeah, now it's a bit of a shame you can't stick a bunch of stuff in there, because I'm going to be honest. Towards the end of my Gitz career last season, I was deliberately swapping stuff in and out of the Loonshrine in my turn just to confuse my opponent. Like every turn they go like, "What's in the Loonshrine?" I'd be like, "Oh yeah," I just like show them, "Oh yeah, it's just over here, mate. It's a Loon Boss, 6 Sneaky Snufflers, 3 Squig Herd, 2 Squig Hoppers." Oh, you can't put Squig Hoppers in, but you know, like a bunch of stuff in there that would just confuse them. Okay. But yeah, now it's not defensible. And the big thing is you've lost the Battle Shock immune aura, which is obviously big, right? So there's no Battle Shock immunity, and that makes it, yeah. As far as I understand, there's no Battle Shock immunity, and so that's a big nerf. Like for reals, that's a big nerf. That hurts. Yeah, now MoonClan Lairs, it's no longer tied to your general's keyword, and so what that means is you can just bring back stuff that's 5 wounds or less and not unique, okay? So pretty much anything can come back. Sneaky Snufflers can come back. Squig Hoppers can come back. Heaps of stuff can come back, right? So, yeah, that's what they do. Okay, so we have MoonClan War Scrolls. I'm going to get a wriggle on because my voice is already getting a bit sore and I got to go to bed. So let's get a wriggle on. So Scragrot, I think mostly the same. He doesn't have the shooting attack. So now what happens is Gloomspite Gitz units wholly within 12 under the light of the bad moon. Great. Remember at the start I was saying we want some way to have like a mobile aura. Moon's more reliable. He gives the moon. Awesome. Once per turn can issue a free command. Knows the entirety of the MoonClan lore, and he has this Loon King's Entreaty thing, which is like where you get to pick how the shrine moves, and that is no longer a command ability, and he doesn't need to be a general. And his spell, which we saw in the preview, is like range of 24. You pick an enemy within range, and basically on a 3-up they take a mortal wound, equal to the casting roll. Amazing. He has Warmaster, but he is keyworded to King's Gitz. So he can still be Warmaster if he's not in King's Gitz, but he, as far as I understand, possibly not. But he can't get another keyword, so he can't get the reroll casting one. Yeah. Okay, and he comes in at I believe a measly 160 points. It's pretty cheap. If you had told me in any other army that cost that, I think I would think you were insane. That is obviously mega undercosted for that war scroll. Like, once per turn, free command, knows the entire of the Loon Clan lore, double caster, +1 cast, 4-up ward, great spell. I think you're taking him in every army, which is what they want because he was really bad and not getting taken. But I mean, for that points cost, I feel like there'd have to be insane competition to not take something like that. I think is a fair comment. All right, we have Madcap Shaman. So I mean, what I'm saying by that is from here on, if you see a war scroll, I'm being serious because I've seen some of this. If you see a war scroll that doesn't look insane, just don't even look at it. If it's not like god level broken, it's not going to compare to some of the stuff in this book. Okay. Now there are serious drawbacks, like we don't have the battle shock immune anymore, so that's what's supposed to balance it. But in any case, the raw power of this book is obviously completely off the charts. All right. So Madcap Shaman does the same thing. So again, what I was saying, he's not amazing. He just looks kind of decent, so, I think you kind of look away. He doesn't have the +1 to cast anymore, right? So, I think a bit weaker there. Okay, Fungoid Cave Shaman. I'm just going to zoom out a bit so you can see him. Once per game, extra spell. You can only do it in Gloomspite Gitz, and you can choose any spell from the Lore of Moon Clans. So, pretty good. If you don't want to take the Teleport and you want to take Itchy Nuisance, or you want to take the Teleport and you want to take Itchy Nuisance, I think those are the main two you'd be kind of equivocating with. His Spore Squig no longer gives a ward. He's just not visible to enemy units more than 12 away. That's great. Now, against Seraphon, that's worse, but against most other armies, that's going to be better. His close range spell got better, but it's still close range, so whatever. Okay, Zarbag. I don't care about his combat profile. Sniffer Spite. On a 4-up can cast +1 spell. I guess that happens like every hero phase. I mean, his spell here, which I saw before, is really nice. It's like you just ignore every buff pretty much that your opponent hero can put on themselves. But it's going to be unreliable to go off, right? Because he doesn't have any casting bonuses, and he's keyworded to King's Gitz, which means you can't give him the reroll to cast one. So he comes in at, let me check. Him and his dudes come in at 180, which seems like too much to me. So I don't think he's a go, unfortunately. Loon Boss. Okay, he was great last season. See what happens. Yeah, so I saw this guy's War Scroll before because it was going the rounds through the week. 4-up save. He got 2-inch range and 5 attacks, so that's what Green Crack does. So similar thing. Dead Trixie has this. He has a 6-up ward now instead of -1 to hit. They've done that change a lot lately, right? Where they've changed -1 to hit to 6-up ward. Okay, if he issues a lot of attack in the combat phase and to the end of that phase, if you do a roll of a 6 to wound, does 1 mortal wound in addition. So what it used to do, but it's taxed with the all-out attack now. So that's pretty handy. Okay. Okay. Skarsnik. Now this guy has some level of battle shock immunity thing, which is obviously pretty handy. Now it's not, unfortunately, not super great. And I'll just get up his points. So sorry, the Loon Boss is 85, and this guy is 140 points, which is a lot. He has 7 wounds, which is nice. And he's pretty good in combat as well. Not as good as the Loon Boss, actually, I don't think, in terms of the stabbing part. I think the Squig helps him out, but yeah, you can add bravery to people at the start of the battle shock phase, and they take mortal wounds. So the problem with that is that you're dealing damage before you take the battle shock test. So you're not really adding 3 to the bravery. You're kind of adding 2. It's not very good. At the end of the combat, you get to see if you can roll and kill someone. I don't think he's very good, unfortunately. Yeah. I think, in general, with these old models, they're just kind of keen for you to not to take them, so they've tried to do that here. Okay. Squig Boss. Squig Boss. Great model. I'm very keen to see a foot Squig hero. He's, pretty decent in combat, but obviously he's here for the buffs. In your hero phase, you can pick 1 friendly Squig unit within 3 to give him some mushrooms. We saw this in the Warhammer community preview. You either give him +3 to move, 6 to hit, do mortal in addition, or +1 attack. 6s to hit, do mortals is mostly going to be the best. Unless you got dollops of rend, then +1 attack, that might be better. Or they have no armor, then probably +1 attack is better. And then once per battle, at the start of this hero phase, you can move a Squig herd unit. Great. How many points is he, you reckon, guys? You see that War Scroll? Okay, he's got heaps of buffs. Yeah, okay, he's 4 wins with a 6-up save. But, like, the amount of buffs he's given out, he does 2 things instead of 1. How many points do you guys think this guy should be? Because I guarantee you it's not what he is. He is. Where is he? 80 points. It's 80 points. We get to have the hag of this edition. If you guys remember when the hag first came out, I think that one was actually 60 to be fair. But this is definitely way up there with underpriced War Scrolls in Age of Sigmar history. So I wouldn't rush out and buy 3 because I think it's very likely to get nerfed. Yeah, because that's obviously undercosted, right? Like, that should be maybe 110. Oh, yeah. Also, someone said in the below that each friendly Squig herd unit wholly within 12 of this unit can make a normal move. I wonder if that lets you stack it. I think ostensibly you could actually stack this. Now, it's going to be hard for you to get multiple in range multiple times. But it's, yeah, obviously it's pretty strong. Someone in the chat has also said, I missed the core battalion for Trogs. I did miss that. Thank you for pointing me out, because I did want to talk about that. Yeah, there's a core battalion. Let me just find this. Here we are. Yes, right at the end. This thing here. Where you take a Trog boss and a dank old Troggoth, and you get Magnificent. That's great. I did see that before. The only thing is, I want to see whether the dank old Troggoth is good. I know the Trog boss is good now, right? But this Troggoth obviously has to be decent to justify taking this. Which we will see in a second. Anyway, where I was back to the Squig boss. He's amazing. 80 points, absolute steal. You're definitely going to take at least 1. All right, go with Palooza. Now, these guys are, I believe, also very cheap. Let me just have a look. Gobbapalooza is 145, so they've gone down 45 points. Now, Coach doesn't have the defensive capabilities on here, but I'm assuming they're still 3 wounds each at a 6-sub save, so obviously really squishy, and they don't have the wards anymore, I don't think. So the way this works is that you no longer roll a prayer roll, you just pick one effect. And so the 3 that you can pick are +1 to run and charge, whatever. +1 hit and wound for a hero, great. And, +1 to rend. That's the one you're going to pick. I think probably for the hero as well, you're probably going to just go +1 rend in most situations as well, because you have ways to buff the wound and hit. So, yeah, +1 rend is great. And then you got basically 2 wizards as part of the unit. So one of them stops your opponent from issuing or receiving commands, amazing. And the other one is -1 to hit, and I can't read what that says down the bottom. -1 to hit, and yeah, sorry, I'm not quite sure what that says. I used to be -1 to hit, and oh no, it's -1 to hit from Gloomspite Gitz units wholly within 12. I remember what this does. It's like a Firebelly spell. Yeah, this unit's amazing. I think it's up there with Scragrot. It's definitely one that you would take in most of the builds, especially since it doesn't seem to be keyword locked to just grots. You could take Trogs and give your Trogs an extra rend with these guys and have 2 wizards. It's hard to justify taking just regular wizards over these guys, because they have in a sense a blade of wounds, and you have just additional abilities. You're killing Scaremonger and Brugit off pretty much straight away, and so Boggle-Eyed Shrewmancer and Spike are really what's going to do the work. And so I think that just makes this unit really strong. And the fact that they don't give you 5 extra drops now as well is a big deal. So they're amazing. Shooters. Actually, this is stabbers first. 5-up save. Yeah. Now the netta has been streamlined, so you don't measure model to model. It's just -1 to hit for the whole unit. And they can contest objectives while they're within 9 instead of 6. pretty good. But I guess, you know, what I was saying before, you know, might not be necessarily that exciting compared to the other War Scrolls, but you have to look at the points. So these guys have gone down to 125 points, which is like really cheap. Like really, really cheap for 20 wounds. Now, they don't have Battle Shock immunity anymore, so they will die very fast. Like a lot of this army will just die now. But the idea is it comes back, so that's the way it's supposed to work. I think they wanted to make this army more of a dynamic, like fighting army rather than, how do I describe it? Like Castle Warhammer, like jerk off at the Loonshrine kind of thing, right? They wanted to make this more dynamic, so I can see why they've gone this direction. And finally, the shooters. I don't think anything's changed here other than the fact that, well, it's actually quite a big change. They get +1 attack. Now, to compensate, they've gone up 5 points. Now, just as a funny story, you know how they decided to get rid of the granularity? Well, it turns out that that doesn't apply to everyone because, well, we have a bunch of 5-point costs. So these guys are, the shooters are 125, and so are the stabbers, okay? So now they're at the same playing field. 125 for stabbers is an absolute steal. I think they're great. Sneaky Snufflers. Alright, we've arrived at this War Scroll. Alright, now, these are expensive. We will forward declare that, okay? They're 110 points. They're 12 wounds. They do have a 5-up ward. But they are very low bravery and expensive, okay? But, okay, so it's all the same stuff it used to do. Start a movement phase. Can't make a move. You roll the dice. Doesn't relate to the size of the unit. Okay, but on a 1 to 2, nothing happens. On a 3+, you can pick one friendly Gloomspite Git unit wholly within 12 and give them a 5-up ward. And if you roll a 6, you get +1 attack. And you add 1 to this roll if you're under the light of the bad moon. So, your big hordes of dudes, your 30 Squig Hoppers, your 60 stabbers, now having the potential of a 5-up ward. It's pretty good. That one is one of the interesting War Scrolls. Obviously, that's insane. Yeah, like, cannot be underestimated how strong that is. Awesome. Loon Smasher Fanatics. Got some nice, like, little quality of life changes. These are... How many points are these? 110. So they've gone down more points. So they're 100... They used to be 130, and they used to be 100. I think they were 150 before that, so they've gone down a lot of points. 110 is like crazily cheap. So they can only go in a grot unit, and can be released if the unit ran in the movement phase. Now, you used to only be able to do it if you didn't run. And if the unit's destroyed, then the Fanatics are not destroyed. You just set them up wholly within 6 of the last slain model before removing it from play. These are fantastic now. I'm actually going to go and buy some on the weekend, I think. The biggest change for me that they've got is splat, where they used to, if you rolled a double, you used to like remove one of the Fanatics. And they do like some mortal wounds and an aura. That doesn't happen anymore. So instead, they have 3-inch range, which is like the biggest change to this unit that you could think of, because before, when they had 1-inch range with these massive like ropes with things on the end, it drove me insane, and it really like it struggled. The unit struggled, like, I think purely because of the range, because you would set them up and then your opponent would just kind of charge and walk around them. Like, they'd still be within 3, but maybe you can only get 1 in. Whereas now, you know, you're gonna have this 3-inch range striking unit going at the start of the combat phase, like really threatening. I think massive improvement to this unit. They're definitely like a big winner here. Okay, and then we have Spore Splatter Fanatics. It's +1 attack, just while they're within wholly within 9. And it seems to apply to all Gloomspite Gits. And you get a pre-game normal move. Yeah, seems really good. And they've lost Splat. And they have 3-inch range. I'm assuming these have gone up a lot. They went down 45 points. That wasn't even done for comedic effect. I legitimately thought they would have gone up like 30 points for that. Yeah, that seems really questionable to me. I'm scratching my head over that one. I wonder if anyone's got anything in the comments they can say to enlighten me about that one, because I'm a little bit puzzled about how they're 90 points for that War Scroll. So basically, as far as I can see, the Spore Cloud thing where they block line of sight from shooting is still not gone. They've gained normal move. They're still really solid in combat. They get +1 attack to just Gloomspire Gitz units, so Trogs as well, Squigs as well. They've lost the main negative, which was Splat. I'm not sure if the wording has changed though on the not being able to be shot thing, because it used to be that if they're in a garrison specifically, you could have 2 in there and neither of them could be shot. But this to me just looks like, okay, we have some models in the warehouse that need being sold. And this is like a unit that we want to get rid of, and so we made the Loon Smasher in this unit like way better. But 90 points for this unit specifically to me just seems like horrifically undercosted. Maybe like 20 or 30 points undercosted. I mean, 90 points just means you're taking one of them in every army, I think. Like for +1 attack behind your big hammer. Yeah. Rob Kelly in the comments shout out just said Troggoths and these guys are best friends. Absolutely. High value attacks. +1 attack is huge. And on a really low price point. Okay. So, as we were saying before, in this book, if it's not broken, it's not good. And this is broken. So, there we go. Alright. So, next thing. Mangler Squig. It's hard. I did look at this one kind of wade my way through the information because there's a lot of stuff going on in the slide here. So as far as I can tell, the main thing that's changed is that its rider attack has got much better. It's had some re-bracketing. It's still kind of a little bit rough, to be honest, but it's nothing on the same level as like only moving D6. It's just more the combat for me, where like the Fangfield Gobs hit on a 5-up on the worst bracket. That really sucks. They now do mortal wounds when they charge. They've lost the Red Cat Mushroom. They're exploding when they die. Thing has gone down 3 inches, and the Bite the Moon is just a once per game ability with the same rules. These have gone up 100 points. They're now 370 points, which is a lot. It's like a lot. Mangler Squigs, the regular ones, are the same as these guys, but they don't have the rider attack, and they don't have the Bite the Moon, but they're like 90 points cheaper. So I think you probably actually take the non-hero monster one. It's interesting how Games Workshop has finally realized like how many points the hero is worth. I mean, in this case, it gives you like fight another day, and like you could take the +1 rend on the mount thing. So the difference between a fully tooled Loon Boss and Mangler Squig is like huge. So I can see why they made the choice, but I think there's an argument for taking like a singleton lone Mangler Squig just trying to get stuff done. So we'll see how we go. I'm actually not a fan of either of them, I have to say, and the reason for that is that like I used to use it more of like a buff unit for the +1 to wound with my army, so kind of the solo get shit done kind of unit is something I'm a little bit less interested in. But maybe this kind of unit is better in a situation where Battle Shock immunity is not a thing. Yeah. Loon Boss and Giant Cave Squig. Okay, so the move has gotten better. I did mention that with the Mangler Squig, but he's gone to D6 plus 10-inch move, which is obviously like much better than his 3d6 move, like in any situation. So that's a big move. I mean, it's like not only is it a reliability increase, it's also just an average increase, right? It'll be 13.5 instead of an average of 10.5. So like on average, it's just +3 to move. And in the situations where, you know, you'd roll a really bad dice roll, like here if you roll a 4 or 5-inch move, so big improvement there. Loon Boss and Giant Cave Squig. Seems like he's pretty good in combat now. And he gets +1 damage and rend on his stabber when he charges, which is the same as the Moon Clan Grots. And it starts off as rend 1, 2 damage, so it'd be rend 2, 3 damage, which is pretty nice. And basically, he and the Boing Grot Bounders can fight at the same time. Okay, so he is, I think, too expensive. I did look at this before. Yeah, he's 140 points. The Loon Boss with Giant K3 I got wrong, actually. So he's 110. So this guy's the one that's 140. So I think he's a little bit expensive for what he is. He did get tankier. He's 8 wounds now, but he's got a mount. See, if he was a Galatian champion, I would be more into it. But given that he's not, I think he's a little bit expensive for what he does. Okay, Squig Hoppers. It's the real unit. This is the one. I think these are still going to be fantastic from what I've seen so far. So D6 plus 10 move. Their Slitter's hitting wound on 4s now instead of 5s, which is great. And Fangfield Gob now just has a flat 3 attacks. So with Jaws of Mark, it's going to have 4 attacks on the charge with no buffs. And Boing Boing Boing, Coach said it changed to normal move, run, or retreat, but it was that. They just factored in post hoc. These are still 180. I can still definitely see myself taking 30 of these. The only thing I wasn't sure about is when they become battle line. I think you probably still need to take a Squig General. So that would maybe tilt you towards playing a Squig Boss General. So I think probably what you're gonna do with Squigs is take a Squig Boss General and take Scragrot. So you got the War Master still, and you just take the Squig Boss General with like probably Clammy Hand because he's gonna hang out by the shrine anyway. Yeah, I think that's gonna be pretty good. All right, Boingrots. We've got same Savory Brave Wounds and the other abilities. They have D6 plus 7 move now, which is a huge buff for them. That's really nice. So they're slower than the Squig Hoppers, but still like really fast. They used to be 2d6, and this is like way better than that. Yeah, so the Poke and Lance now wounds on a 3-up. So that means when they charge, it's going to be 2 attacks, 3s, 3s, rend 2, damage 2. So like real big damage now with that Lances of the Bounders thing. And the Fangfield Gob now has 3 attacks, okay? The Lancers have 2-inch reach, which is massive, but I'm assuming the Gobs still have just 1. But like the damage output of even 5 of them is like really handy. Then they've gone up a lot of points to compensate, so they're 140 points, and they're still 2 wounds each. So it's only 40 points off Hoppers, right? Now the Hoppers do definitely less damage, but the durability now is definitely there for the Hoppers. Okay, Squig Herd. Okay, these are like ridiculously cheap. They're 120 points, which is like kind of mind-boggling. Okay, so Rob Kelly's got back to me in the comments. It seems like Squig Herd are generic battle line now, whereas Boingrots you need to take a Squig General. Okay, so Squig Hoppers being generic battle line makes me want to take 30 Squig Hoppers and then spam the shit out of the Trogs. I want to take 30 Squig Hoppers and then take a dank old Trog Boss General, and then we just go Trogs. And maybe we take 1 Squig Boss. We'll see how we go with that. But yeah, Squig Herd, like really cheap. So 120 points. And now, just to give you a little bit of context, in November they were 160 points. So we've gone down 40 points. Now they're the same wounds, and now they've gained just a flat D6 extra move. They've gained an extra attack. Their Squig's Gone Wild has meant that now, instead of doing a mortal wound on a 4-up to the closest unit, friendly or enemy, within 6, now it's 2-up, you pick one enemy unit within 9, and they suffer 1 mortal wound, which is insane. They've lost the reroll runs and charges, and they've gained Herding Squeaks. Now, they can't receive commands, which is terrible because you can't rally them. So I can't ever see you taking, like, 36 of these with the hopes that they're going to stick around. You could take 36 with these with the hopes that you're going to send it with them and die and run away and do 1,000,000 mortal wounds. That's what you would run them with, and then bring them back through the shrine, right? That's the idea with these guys. They're like a t-shirt cannon. Like, you just send them in, and they have some form of recursion with the Squig herder, which also works when you're in combat, which is quite nice. And you could bring back like 43 slain cave squigs, which is pretty nice. If you have like, let's say 24, if you have 6, you could bring back like 63. So yeah, pretty good. 120 points is insane for that, obviously. Like 120 points for 40 attacks on the charge in Jaws of Mork. Like, even just unbuffed, that's like ridiculous for like the points investment. You could definitely justify just MSU spamming Squig Herd. I could definitely see that being a thing. Like MSU Squig Herd, and then you just have like stuff to make sure that the shrine doesn't blow up. Like just layers of stuff, and just great trading pieces that like can double move when you want them to with Squig bosses. Yeah, really strong, I think, for sure. Excuse me, just take a drink of water. Okay, so let's get to the end of this before my voice runs out. I've been teaching for about 10 hours today as well, so just bear with me for a second, okay? All right, but we do it because we love Gitz, all right? I would never miss this, even after working my ass off the whole day, all right? So, yeah, shout out to everyone in the live chat. Thank you very much for joining me. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Shout out to Rob Kelly, Tristan Gray. How you guys doing? I'm having a ball reading this, and I've taken a little breather here because this is now I'm a Squig player, but I understand the absolute weight of the next session that I'm going into, which is Trogs and Spiders. All right. Now, for many of you Timmies out there, this is the real book, the real part of the book that matters. You know, Squigs. You know, some of us are into Squigs every other Sunday. Some of us are live Squiggers. I think Trog players, you know, they can kind of take it or leave it with the Squigs, you know. We know where the home is. It's with Trogs, all right? We can dabble in Squigs if Trogs aren't good in the meta, but this is where we really want to be. All right, so first one, the one that everyone wants me to talk about, is Moloch. All right. This is your big source of damage. This is your hammer, I'm assuming. So melee weapon now, an attack sequence of 2 inch, 3 attacks, 3 up, 2 up, rend 2, damage 3. It's not bad actually. Missile weapon does D3 damage. Regeneration doesn't require the 4 up. That's a trend with all the Trogs, so he just heals D3. He's lost some random rules. Batsquig does a mortal wound on a 2 up. How many points is he? Molog is 130, so it's gone down 45. Now, is he worth 130 points? Maybe. I don't know. You know, the thing is with this kind of unit is like, there's just too many rules. I mean, they've even removed some of them, but he's like okay in combat. He has some stuff. No, I don't think you'd take him, but like, you know, if he's your pet unit, you're going to feel less bad about it now. All right. Dank old Trog boss. That's what we're here for. Okay. He's had my favorite gear so far. We've had the Loon skin for just include a free endless spell. We've had Pet Gribbly for my poor little pet cockroach that I was like munching on. Unfortunately got killed by my opponent, so now I'm angry. Love it. So here's the change. So regeneration becomes greater regen. You heal D6 in your hero phase. And obviously, if you're taking the sub-faction, after he fights, you heal D6. Fantastic. He's lost, like, the +1 bravery and the reroll 1s. But he's gained Shepherd of Destruction. When he issues the all-out attack command to a friendly Trog unit, they get +1 attack, as well as the +1 to hit. Fantastic. Because Trogs need +1 attack desperately, because they don't have enough, like, attacks, right? It's very low attack density, so that's fantastic. So, you're taking Rock Guts, you're going this guy, you go on your silly 90 point, I get +1 attack unit, and you're dreaming, I think. Okay, the magnificent Dankhold Troggoth. You're taking this guy to get an artifact, but what else does he do? His melee attack has got more reliable. That's about it. Okay, so what do these guys weigh in at? So the Dankhold Troggoth is 180 points, this lad here. Is that good? No. The Dankhold Trogboss is 200 points. Is that good? Yes. So there's only 20 points for being way better. Just because of, taking gear and obviously the great command ability. You're only going to take the Dankhold Troggoth for the sake of getting an extra artifact. But I probably wouldn't. I think you probably just go low drop with Trogs. Although, they do have magnificent artifacts, so maybe. Okay, Fellwater Trogs, I believe, are 160. So they've gone up 5 points. The combat's the same, but they have a 4-up save. And they heal D3 from my understanding. That says same as Dankhold Troggoth, so I guess Dankhold Troggoth is D3 as well. Okay, enemy is -1 to hit while within 3, instead of just attacks that target the unit. Fantastic. Debuff. Noxious Vomit. If any wounds caused by this unit's Noxious Vomit are allocated to an enemy unit and not negated, that enemy unit is drenched in vomit until the start of your next hero phase. Next hero phase. So shoot. In your turn, you move, you shoot, and this happens and stays on until the end, until the start of your next hero phase. So potentially a very long time. While the unit is drenched in vomit, -1 to save, and ignore positive modifiers to save rolls for attacks that target that unit. Holy shit. It's gonna. Now, I do believe they have 1 attack each. So let's just check the tapes here, alright? So 1 attack each with the Fellwater Trogs. Let me just get this up. Because, obviously that's a crazy ability, but let's just do the due diligence here. Alright, so here's the profile, right? Okay. 1 attack, 2 up, 3 up, -2 D3. Alright? And you have to do a wound that is not negated. Alright, so it can't be warded. So, potentially decently swingy. You'd question whether 3 of them could get it done, but 6 definitely could get it done. 6-inch range is obviously pretty short, but yeah, if you get that off on a hero unit, it's just dead. Like, it's just full on dead. Yeah, I can't describe to you how ridiculous that ability is. Like, if your opponent is sticking, like, let's, for example, say, 15 Chaos Warriors in the middle of the board, and you go, alright, let's go Noxious Vomit. So, they're on, let's say they're on a 3-up save, they have Mystic Shield, and they're going to use All-Out Defense. So, they'd normally be on a 1-up save. And hitting them with this essentially adds 3 to the rend of the unit that you're looking to hit them with, right? Because you get -1 save, and then they can't add any bonuses to save. So, you would be looking at, they're on a 4-up save now, instead of a 1-up save. And if your Trogs have Rend 2, that means they're on a 6-up save. If your Trogs have Rend 3, because you've buffed them with Gobblepalooza, now your opponent's 1-up save Chaos Warriors are getting no save. Which is, like, insane. So this army is obviously, like, Trogs are ridiculous against armor. Now, against Nighthaunt, this obviously doesn't do anything at all, so that's something to consider, but, yeah, obviously we have other parts of the book that are meant to deal with that. Okay, Rock Guts. Main thing that's changed is 4-up save. I just want to check if the points have changed. I thought they went up a little bit. Yeah, and as people say, it includes Unleash Hell, which is also kind of weird that it says until the hero phase. Yeah, like, I think what Rob Kelly in the comments is saying is right, which is, there's a lot of, like, singleton units in this book where, like, the Spore Splatter Trogs, the Sneaky Snufflers, the Gobblepalooza, Scragrot, Fellwater, like, units you're going to just take one of, pretty regardless of what list you're going to take, because of the strength of one ability. Yeah. Now, Rock Guts now are... How many points? They are 160, so they've gone up 15. Understandably, they've got like a million buffs. Now, I don't know whether the throw-in boulders is for every unit in the unit. I'm actually unsure about that. I did listen to Coach's like audio on this, and I didn't quite understand whether it meant you roll like 1 dice for each rock gut in the unit, or it's just 1. If it's 1 dice for each rock gut in the unit, like, this is actually crazy shooting. Like, if you have 9 trogs, you're gonna do like 5 mortal wounds. Or like if they have 5 or more models, it's gonna be like 6 mortal wounds. Yeah, but I wasn't sure whether it was like, if it was each model in the unit. But we'll see as time comes out. The Hag we don't have any info on yet. So that's Trogs. Really strong, obviously. I think the biggest like the biggest save change here is like the save, right? It's the durability that's the big change for me here. Used to be, you know, 5 up, 5 up. Now we're going to 4 up, 5 up. We've got +1 save under the aura of the moon. We're now getting, you know, access to the regen at, you know, whenever we fight. Just healing a flat D3 to just, you know, heal off those wounds that stack up over time. You know, another thing here is that losing the battle shock immunity on this unit is just not as much of a big deal as it is with Squigs. Because you're not going to take, you know, 30 trogs, obviously. You can't. So, I mean, losing 1 trog because of battle shock feels bad, but it doesn't feel as bad as losing 15 Squigs and then losing the rest of the unit because of battle shock. So, yeah. My impression so far is that the Trog side of the book is probably stronger than the Squig side. Just in terms of ease of use, at least. Like, you'd feel really good playing this. It just kind of feels like Nurgle. Like, just really durable units that do heaps of damage. It does way more damage than Nurgle, actually. It can all be recycled. Like, your Fell Warders are coming back. You know, even if you're not like particularly speccing into Trogs, if you just take 3 Fell Warders, you know, 2 of them are going to come back anyway from the shrine. That's the one thing with King's Gitz, you know. If you got King's Gitz and Clammy Hand, and you just take in all these like singleton units, you know, they can come back. So that feels really good. The one thing I wanted to check with the tapes, with the Loonshrine, I'll just have a look at it now, because I had this idea in my head. I just wanted to check. Okay, so it says not unique. So I'm assuming Gobblepaloos are unique, so they can't come back through the shrine. But, you know, some other buff pieces here. So, like, the Sneaky Snufflers can come back through the shrine now. The Fanatic variants can come back, I'm assuming. So, King's Gitz plus Clammy Hand could be really useful for just, you know, bringing back these buff pieces or, like, side units, that you really need to keep up, to keep your damage up. So, like, the Spore Splatter Fanatics, they might get shot off, you know, because they block your opponent from shooting you. So, they get shot off, and then, you know, you just roll the 4 up and bring it back. That could be really useful. Okay, let's look at spiders. Worth noting that the Spore Splatters also are going to be really useful for spiders, because +1 attack is an amazing buff on mortal wound type units. Okay, so the Spider Fang War Party's always been a bit of a weird one. The big change here is it has some more wounds, moves faster now. I don't think Tennis Move is nearly enough for this base size. It probably should be 12, but decent. Yeah, Tennis Move, it counts as 10 for contesting objectives, and it does 3 mortal wounds on 6s to hit, instead of just D3. Pretty nice. It comes in at how many points, I wonder? Because this is the critical thing for spiders for me. 230. Seems a little expensive for me. I think it's hard for me to imagine an army like this working, just mainly because of the base size, right? Like, it's just really hard to maneuver these guys around the board with that base size. It's just a completely unreasonable base size. Okay, Webspinner Shaman. This is the one that I think you would think about taking, right? Like, this is the one that's always been a bit of a standout for me. I really liked him last edition, even even with spiders being as bad as they were. So he's 270, so I think he's really solid for that price. Like Monstrous Fang's now doing 3 damage. Under the Moon, he's going to be just doing 5 up, does mortal wounds. Venom the Spider God spell, basically, this does the same thing as the artifact, but I do believe it would stack. So, in this case, if you put it on spiders and they roll a 6 to hit, they're going to be doing 2 mortals instead of 1. And if you've got the artifact, I think they would do 3. I'm not sure if it stacks. I'd assume that it maybe does, because I don't think the triggered effects thing would come into play here. We might need some kind of like fact about that, or maybe there's something written in the battletome that clarifies that, but as far as I can tell, that would stack. So maybe if you get both buffs off, your foot spiders could be doing 3 mortal wounds on a 6 to hit, and just doing 1 on a 5. You would feel really bad if you didn't roll any 6s, but 10 spiders with +1 attack from spore splatters could be doing 30 attacks, roll 5 6s, do 15 mortal wounds. So it's pretty good. I'm assuming they're not very expensive either. I think they're still 90 points, so that's it's not bad. Not bad. All right, now where's the Flinger? That's the one I really want to know about. Come on, where is he? There we go. All right, I want some prayers in the chat. I haven't read this yet. This is one of the ones I didn't want to reveal until I did it live. Okay, so let's see. All right. Okay. Come on. How many points is he? Let's check that first. 270. It's a lot. Okay. Okay. Oh, that's so many points. All right. Flinger. The attack characteristic is equal to the number of models in the target unit to a max of 20. Okay. In addition, if any Flinger attacks score a hit, roll a dice. On a 2+, the unit halves its moon characteristic. Okay. Range 36. 3s and 3s. No Rend 1 damage. But I can only target 1 unit with it, right? On a 2-up, it halves its move characteristic. 36-inch range. That's a tricky one. There's some value there for sure. Just in general, though, that ability is good, but the range profile is not. No Rend 1 damage is realistically not going to be that good. So against a 4-up save, you're getting how many hits? Like 13 hits, and then probably like 8 wounds, and then 4, so like 4 damage, and then you halve their move. It's nice having some long-range artillery, but that's the best-case scenario. Sometimes you'll play armies that don't have any big units, and this is going to be the worst thing ever. So 270 points, there's no way in my mind that this is worth it. So F's in the chats. I don't think this is any good at all. It's not as bad as it was, obviously. Like, I don't think it could be as bad as it was, but that's still not good. Like, the scrap launcher from Ogres does pretty much the same thing. And I think that one has Rend 1 as well, and it's still not very good at all. And it's also half the points of this, so it's a no from me, unfortunately. For me, the Web Spinner Shaman's still the best here. But we have the Skitter Strand to come. This is just an ambush unit, and at the end of the combat phase, you can ambush again. So remove it from the battlefield and set it up as a reserve unit. So I do want to check the tapes here on whether you can do that with this. No. So you can't do the Grim Scuttle thing as well. So you just go back into reserve. Okay, how many points is the Skitter Strand? Is it still 160? No, it's gone up 40, so it's 200. Okay, I think it's not very good, unfortunately. All right. We have the Scuttle Boss. Now, this guy had a great artifact. Like, the only can be hit on 5s and 6s. So, if he has some sort of increase in durability here, that would be really nice. So, let's have a look. 8 wounds. Oh, okay, there we go. All right, so, yeah. So, it's gone from 6 to 8 wounds. Nice. And 10-inch move. Nice. So, Spider Venom does 2 mortal wounds on an unmodified 6 to hit. So he just does flat 2. That's great. He's lost the worst command ability I've ever seen in my life, and he's gained Scuttle Away. So once per battle at the end of the combat phase, you can say he will order his warriors to scuttle away. If you do so, you can pick one friendly Spider Rider unit wholly within 12. This unit and that unit can retreat. Whoa, one after the other in the order of your choice. Okay, that is amazing. How many points does this go? Scuttle Boss. 130. So that's a bit more than he was. He's gone up 25 points. And you'd only take one with the artifact for sure. But with that, it's pretty good. I could definitely see him, like just him and one unit of 10 Spider Riders. For sure. It's not a big investment. I don't think Spider Riders have changed very much. I think the big change they've had is they now, get the command if they have 5 instead of 10, but the banner's only +1 bravery instead of 2. No big improvements here, but still really cheap. Still great screens, and with that Scuttle Boss ability, they're great. They've had some great boosts around them. I think really solid for sure. For me, in the Spider Fang, I think the standouts for me are actually not the big dudes. I think it's the Scuttle Boss is really good, and the Spider Fang and the Web Spinner are still really good for me. The Foot Web Spinner is like pretty solid. I think the speed of the Spider God spell is still the same thing, which is like run, shoot, and charge. I don't think that's changed from my understanding. But the main thing about this dude is that he is 65 points, which is like insanely cheap. It is a one-cast wizard that does nothing else pretty much, but that's really cheap, obviously. So, getting warlords and that kind of thing. I question how useful this guy is, beyond this GHB, because he's a Galatian champion now. Maybe once that goes away, he's going to be less useful. But this GHB, like, you could definitely just take him, just to have one of the spider spells. Like, you want the -1 to hit spell, and just cheap. Like, you could definitely take him with Trogs, have the -1 to hit spell, and the Gobapalooza Firebelly aura be -2 to hit on your Trogs, for like a really low investment. Definitely could be doing that. 65 points is like mega cheap for what he could offer your army. Like, considering people are going to take like Firebelly, for 130 points to do basically the same thing. Pretty good. Okay. Someone says that his weapon gets Spider Venom, not just Mount, the Scuttle Boss. Could be that. If that's true, that's amazing. He's just really good then. I don't know why they're trying to sell these old models. This guy's really old model, the Scuttle Boss. And the same with the Spider Riders, but I guess people just like spooters. Okay. And then we have some other stuff. We have the new Snarlfang Riders, which I have had a peek at, and I think they're way too expensive. These clock in at they're 135 points. So there's 5 of them, 5 up save, 2 wounds, bravery 4, which is awful. They do get +1 bravery with a banner. If they get redeploy, you can reroll the dice, and they can shoot, but you can't unleash hell, obviously, after you redeploy, and they can pile in 6. A bit of a shame, I think. This is like a useful chaff unit, like outside of Gitz, but I think in Gitz is not really a thing, to be honest. Spider Riders are the same defensive profile, I believe, and they're 55 points cheaper. So, I just can't really see what the role of these guys are, in this GHB at least. It's a bit of a disappointment. Ripper Snarlfangs have kind of gone up to match, and unfortunately, I don't think they really deserved it. So the Ripper Snarlfangs are now 110 points. I know they're 3 wounds now, but it's really rough. It's it kind of seems just too expensive for this unit. I'm not sure what they were so terrified about. I guess they're just terrified of like these sorts of like light cavalry units for being too strong. But I feel like in Age of Sigmar, these units are almost always really bad. Like if you think about like Dark Riders, not Dark Riders, what are they called? Doomfire Warlocks. It's the other side of the kit. You know, various Seraphon cavalry. Yeah, like these kind of like outflanking light cavalry typically have just been quite bad. Like Marauder Horsemen have mostly been bad in their existence. And as soon as Marauder Horsemen were like even remotely good, they got nerfed. They really just don't want this kind of unit to be good. Which is a shame because they're like some of the greatest models I've seen in a while. So I will still buy some, and I might run one unit, you know, just as a bit of a pet unit. They come back out of the shrine, which is nice. But yeah, other than that, it's a bit of a shame, isn't it? Because I feel like it is a little bit of a missed opportunity. Anyway, we have everyone's favorite unit here. I've got two of these. Aelgazler Gargant. Okay, so now he apparently matches the Man-Crusher Gargant, except he has one more attack on the Massive Club, which is nice. And now still the damage is not that great. This guy is 140 points, which is very cheap. He can charge 3d6, but if you roll a triple, yeah, he can't make a charge move, and you roll off, and then, you know, you do the whole fall over thing. If you just want a cheap monster for Raw, I can legitimately see an inclusion here. He's very cheap, and if you're playing Trogs, you might not have a monster in there. Now, again, this kind of comes back to what I was saying at the start, where if it's not broken, you're not going to take it. And this guy's probably in that kind of ballpark where, you know, in a lot of other armies, you might think about it, but the might think about it's not going to cut it in this army because there's too many options here that are just insane for the points cost. So, unfortunately, I think it's a no for the Gargant. Maybe next time, or maybe not. Okay, so, given there was a grand strat, let's have a look at the endless spells. So Scrap Scuttle's Arachna Cauldron, I think it's more or less the same thing. The only thing I believe that has changed is that you get one extra spell. I think that didn't used to be the case. I'm pretty sure it used to be re-rolled. Yeah, so I think they're giving you an extra spell instead of re-rolling casts and unbinds and dispels, which is a little bit worse. I think it's gone down 10 points to compensate, but it's a little bit worse, for sure. Yeah. It's only one mortal wound now that can't be negated. I believe it used to be D3, yeah. Okay, Scuttletide. You still get +1 to cast if you cast it with Spider Fang. You now roll 8 dice instead of, I believe it used to be 6. And while it's wholly within 12 any Arachnarok units, you can only be dispelled with a dispelling roll of 9 up. That's really good, by the way. Like, really good. It makes it like an 8 to cast. How many points is this thing? 85. So really expensive. But really good in a Spider Fang army for sure. Yeah, that feels solid for sure. Yeah, nice. Okay, let's look at the moon. So, now moves 12. After you move, you roll a dice for each other unit within 3. On a 2-up, you take 2-3 mortal wounds and doesn't affect Gitz. And it broadcasts the moon, because it's a moon. So, yeah. It makes sense. All moons on the table do the same thing. So, Scragot's moon stick thing, and then this moon, and then the terrain moon. It's all a moon. Okay, so it's a moon aura. I don't think this is necessary if you're taking Scragrod as well. I think that's too much. So I wonder how much you're actually going to see it. This is, how many points? It's 80 points. I think that's kind of expensive. You might take it with Loonskin, but, yeah. It's probably a little bit expensive. Okay, and then we got the Shroom. Which is the same, apparently. It used to be 40 points, and it's gone up to 100 points. I think they made a mistake making it 40 points, to be honest. That one was always like, all right, why is this thing 40 points? Unfortunately, I couldn't take it in the last army I took to CanCon because I just didn't have the points, but it was super solid for sure. I think you're going to take it with the Loon Skin dude because it's 100 points now, so just getting it for free is like super handy, and he can just cast it. So just like really solid to take with the Loon Skin Dankhold. That's the one you're going to take there. But overall, the Endless Spells, aside from Scuttle Tide, I think are a little bit on the weaker side. I don't think you would pay the points for Mighty Mushroom unless you have because you would just take Loon Skin instead. So that's the end of the book. I'm going to end this off soon because I do have to go to bed. But thank you very much for tuning in. My impression of the book so far, I did not expect that we were going to lose the Lunatic Courage thing here, so the Battle Shock immunity, okay? I was expecting us to keep that, so the fact that that's gone makes me a little bit worried about larger units, okay? I would be a little bit skeptical now, maybe, of taking the 30 hoppers in a way. I definitely would have to have a plan about what I'm going to do against armies that, like, stop me from, doing Inspiring Presence, because I'm really going to need that. I think definitely with this army, you're going to have to look about putting in a good Triumph bid for your Ignore Battle Shock, because you might need that. Especially against like shooting armies that might make you dodge Battle Shock. Against something like Nighthaunt, I would be less worried, because in order to make you actually take the Battle Shock test, they're going to have to invest a lot, right? So that's the thing. Okay, now the allies didn't change either, so Marshcrawler still has the potential to be in. I think you would still take him in a Trog army, probably. The Squigs I'm less sure about, because there are so many other good buffs to Squigs now. Maybe you would consider not taking it. I'm not sure how the math would work out there. I'd have to think about it. It's interesting. I think with the Squig Hoppers, to me, that still seems like a massive hammer unit. And I'm looking at these three, and it does seem like the Boingrots are the weakest to me by like quite a bit. Because in terms of the hammer, I feel like you would rather just take the Squig Herd. And then if you wanted some like faster stuff that sticks around a little bit longer, the Hoppers are probably going to be a better option for that, because they've got the good rally. Now, with the heroic action, you know how I was saying the 4-up rally thing is like insane? Given you don't have the Battle Shock immunity, I don't think that's as good as I thought it was when I first read it. That's probably hard to actually get off. You're going to have to, again, spec into getting your Battle Shock Triumph, so you can Inspire and Presence one unit and Battle Shock Immune the other one if you're in a matchup where that's possible. Against Nighthaunt, one thing that's worth considering is trying to get yourself firmly outside of Terrified range so that you can guarantee that you are not taking Battle Shock. Otherwise, you're going to really need to roll your recycle dice on the moon, on the shrine well, or you're going to be in trouble, I think. But on first impression, I would say Trogs are the big winners here, which I'm not necessarily surprised by. There's a few units here that are also massive winners. So Gobblepalooza, massive winners. Scragrot, the Rockgut Troggoths, Spore Splatter Fanatics, the normal Fanatics variant. I think Stabbers are quietly really good. Squig Herd are really good. The Dankhold Trog Boss is like really good now, I think. And then there are other units where I feel like they've kind of got a little bit raw end of the stick. I think Boingrots are a little expensive for what they do. Loon Boss and Mangler Squigs, I'm not convinced by it. Maybe as I see more, that I'll get more confident. But 14 wounds on a 4-up save to me is still not enough for that points cost. He's still going to die too easily, in my opinion. But I can see how, with all the movement, he could be oppressive against a melee army for sure. Some fun little winners here, like the Scuttle Boss on Gigantic Spider with this great artifact we saw before, right? This that you can only hit him on a 5 or a 6. I really like that. It's like a really annoying unit. He can go in, he can fight, he can retreat afterwards. You know, you can tag something on the end, tank a bunch of aggro, you know, with them only hitting you on a 5 or a 6, and then piss off at the end of the phase. Really solid. Shout out to Dank Old Troggoths for having some great rules. I love this pet Gribbly artifact. It's hilarious. And then the battle tactics I thought were like a little bit boring, to be honest. Because some of them they're not necessarily that easy, but they're just kind of like a little bit dull. I would have preferred if they were a bit more dynamic than just like take an objective and be under the moon kind of thing. You can really see how Scragrot is a little bit of an order include if you kind of like piece these battle tactics together as well, because you don't have to rely on any of it being random if he's alive. So I think it's going to be really hard to justify not taking him. I think you're basically going to take him in every build because, you know, his ability just benefits everyone. So he's smashing it all the time. Yeah, that's my impression. Squig Boss was great. But yeah, some of the units in here, I think Boingrots is probably the biggest disappointment for me. Like, they're solid, and I could definitely see how they can do damage on the charge. But for me, 10 wounds for... In Gitz, right? 10 wounds for 145. It's just not going to cut it. Like, Trogs are 12 for 160, and they have a 5-up ward. So that's, like, a lot better. And they have regeneration as well. So Trogs are just a lot more tanky. They're slow, for sure. They're much slower than the Boingrots, but they also do more damage with buffs, I think. So, well, actually, maybe not. Maybe Boingrots still do more damage, but yeah. Boingrots seemed kind of expensive to me. But maybe we'll revisit that as we go. Let me know what you think in the comments. It was fun to go through this with you guys. I hope you enjoyed the live stream. Yeah. It was interesting to see some of this live. I did see some of this before, but it was interesting to go through some of them. I hadn't seen the Battle Shock immune change. That one kind of caught me off guard. I was thinking this was going to be the most broken book ever, but the fact that it's been reeled back by that, I think is a good change. If that wasn't there, it would be like on another level. But that's what I think. I think it's like really solid. But I don't think it's the most broken book that's ever come out because of that. Like, there's definitely going to be some dodgy matchups and some janky moves that we're going to have to make because of that. All right. Yep, so this has been Stu and Iron Gossam McCown. Check